Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell on the Premier Radio Networks.
Mel Waters has appeared on Coast to Coast AM several times over the years now. Many may remember his accounts of the mysterious hole on his property in central Washington, which appeared to have no bottom. The hole was, by Mel's account, measured to a depth of 80,000 feet, utilizing fishing line and a weight. Since Mel's first appearance on the show, many strange, fascinating, and rather unfortunate things have happened to Mel and the people somehow related to the hole. In a moment, it's back to Mel's Hole and more. And now, here he is from, I don't know where he is right now, Mel Waters. Mel, welcome to the program.
I'm here in the Pacific Northwest.
Somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. That'll do. First of all, it's great to hear from you, and I guess we heard from you, Mel, because, were you out somewhere when we did a rebroadcast of the original Mel's Hole thing?
Yeah, I guess this was last week sometime, and I was coming back from Nevada, and we turned up. I get a lot of rides from truckers. You might find this interesting. I look a hell of a lot like Willie Nelson.
Do you?
I mean, people will come up to me, and particularly truckers, and say, "Do you know you look like Willie Nelson?"
No kidding.
And then I tell them, no, I'm not Willie Nelson. I am Mel Waters.
And they know who you are?
Well, they know exactly who I am. And next thing you know, I've got 3 or 4 truckers standing around me, and we're talking. And
well, how do you get them to believe you? I once was out I've got an RV, Mel.
Yeah.
And we talked to truckers on CB. That's real handy when you're on the road. And I encountered some truckers, my wife and I did, and we were running with them. You do that. You kind of run in a pack. And they wouldn't believe it was me. They said, your name is Art. You're from probably. Are you Art Bell? I said, yes, I'm Art Bell. They said, no, you're not.
I haven't had any problem with it. It's interesting. I guess a lot of the truckers that are listening to you aren't seeing you on your website, or so I guess they have no mental picture of you at all. So I think.
Well, I mean, even on the radio though, on CB, we were just talking to them on CB.
Oh, so they heard your voice.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
they would not believe it was me.
Oh.
They finally did, but it took about an hour. Anyway, Mel.
So we're heading back, and we're near Portland, and he turns on the radio, and I'm on the air. At first. I didn't believe I was, this is a dream. We've been on the road too long, and no, that was me. And we were wrapping up the show there, and I decided, well, I'm heading back here. I had to see a doctor for a checkup here, and so I came up here, and I decided, what the heck, I'll bring the audience up to date here. I kind of left people dangling there at the end of...
Yeah, I got a lot of, hey, I'm dangling here. What's the story on Mel's Hole? Now, to bring everybody just very quickly, the 101, you had a piece of property in Washington.
Yeah, out near Ellensburg, Washington, the center of Washington State, near the Manastash Ridge, which is sort of like the mountain range that runs along. Ellensburg is in the Kittitas Valley, and so you got a valley, you've got mountain ranges and ridges and so forth, and that's basically where the property is located out there.
Tell them what happened. Go ahead, tell them
what happened with the property.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Okay, we'll give you the nickel tour, as it were.
Thank you, good.
Okay. Basically, this was back in 97, so this was 5 years ago almost,
yes.
that I sent a fax to the show here, and basically I described what I had done about this hole and how I... lowered some fishing line into it because, quite frankly, for years and years, people were dumping stuff into the holes. I'm talking refrigerators. I'm talking dead animals. My favorite thing to toss in there was TV picture tubes. But no matter what we tossed in there, we never heard anything hit bottom.
Let me stop you for just 1 second. Mel, do you have a Bible?
Yes.
Go get your Bible. I'll wait.
I have the Bible right here, and I will...
You have it that handy?
Yes.
Place your hand on it, Mel.
It is right on the Bible.
Do you swear to me, with your hand on that Bible, Mel, that what you are telling me and about to tell me is the whole truth, the absolute truth?
Let us say the absolute truth.
All right, we'll say the absolute truth. Cute. I'm sorry about the whole truth thing. The absolute truth, with your hand on the Bible, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
All right. Then let us proceed. So you threw TV picture tubes down, but I mean, I remember cows going down and...
Yeah, so some people threw dead cattle out there. I had a little Mexican fellow that used to throw literally truckloads of tires down there.
And there was enough, the hole was big enough so that you could throw something down and you wouldn't hear it cascading off the side as it went down.
It was 9 feet across, and it had a retaining wall around the top of it, and the stone went down a bit, but as far as I can tell, as far as I could see...
No splash, no crash, no bang, nothing.
No, and it seemed to be, and it didn't look like it tapered. It looked, from everything that I could see.
It looked as wide as far as you could see.
It was a hole.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's further than I could see it tapered. I had no idea. But I figure if something tapered, eventually tapers down to nothing, and things start collecting.
Well, 9 feet in diameter, that's a big hole.
That's a good sized hole. That's 3 yards across. That's more than the average human being is standing up.
So you had something across the hole, right?
Yeah, we put some corrugated metal and stuff on top of it, kind of to secure it.
By the way, had you fenced the hole in? Was there any protection? Was there a sign up that said...
Beware of the hole? No.
Yeah, beware the hole.
Oh, that's, I think, would fall under the category of attractive nuisance. You start warning people, and that gets people enticed. So.
But how about protecting people? I mean...
Oh, well, again, that's what the corrugated metal on top was for. It was secured on there pretty good, so you can, you couldn't open this up without basically busting the mechanism open. And
so you began lowering fishing line into the hole from this centerpiece, right?
Yeah. At first, I used to do a lot of shark fishing, so I had a couple of big fishing poles with a lot of line on them. And what I was curious about is to find out if there was any water down there. What the heck? So I lowered a big reel full of line into it, and had a roll of lifesavers on the bottom. The roll of lifesavers was simply because if it hit water, the lifesavers would dissolve.
Absolutely.
It would melt. Sure. It's an old fisherman's trick. So that's what I did. I lowered down. I emptied this reel. I assume there's about 500 yards of line on this particular reel there.
Right.
I did that with another reel, so I connected them up there, and I get down to about 3,000 feet, and same result. And then finally, I get kind of nuts about the whole thing there, so I went and bought basically monofilament in wholesale quantities. It's the kind of stuff that they fill the fishermen's reels with down at the sporting goods stores. You see, they have monster reels.
Giant.
So, basically I started lowering the stuff down there on a 1 pound lead weight into the hole.
By the way, did you have any help, or were you doing this all by yourself?
Well, no, the project was conducted by myself. I didn't have assistance or anything like that.
Yeah, it was your own property anyway, right?
It was my property. My wife was becoming estranged from me, so she wasn't hanging around or anything. I was just sort of out there at the property doing just to satisfy my own curiosity. And basically at the point where I had reached 80,000 feet of line into the hole, and I had a little. I don't know, for lack of a better word, I had a little widget that kept track of. It's just like a little. It's like a mechanical digital counter, but it was made for measuring how much line goes down. So I knew exactly how much line I'd put into the hole at that point.
Which was
80,000 feet.
80,000.
8,000 times 10, or 80,000. 80,000 feet. Something like 15 miles of line went into that hole.
There are people who have questioned, you had a little weight, of course, on the end.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you had the weight of the line itself. Mm-hmm. Now, at some point, people say the line would be so heavy that you would have no idea whether you actually hit bottom or not.
Well, yeah, I would think so. And again, the only thing is I do recall I got back to you, and what I did is I actually measured the weight of the line in the hole. Okay, I had a little spring fisherman's scale put on the thing. And I believe I had somewhere with the weight on the bottom, between 17 and 18 pounds of weight attached to the top.
All right.
That's
well, that would have been
there.
within the limits. All right.
I don't know. I mean, to me, I think about it now, and I think about what I've been through, and I think about all these things here. And I don't know what to make of any of this stuff. I don't know why. I mean, I know that. Well, didn't you have somebody talk about they're drilling like these huge deep holes in Russia or something like that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, you got your deep holes there. I don't know what the depth of a hole is. The hole there has been there for as long as anybody can remember. If you talk to some people there, they say, "Oh yeah, this was there," from my grandfather's.
There are people who say they are volcanic vents or whatever.
Could be.
It could be, but still, at 80,000 feet, no bottom to the hole. Now, this hole exhibited some, lack of a better term, paranormal aspects.
Well, yeah, and I believe what I had noted was that, my dogs wouldn't have anything to do with it. They wouldn't go anywhere near it.
Right.
Birds didn't mess with the retaining wall. It's the kind of place birds like to go. They didn't go anywhere near it. That there were people that told me various things that, when I talked to them about it, one man claimed he had thrown a dog that died into it, and at some point after that, he was out there hunting around up there in the hills, and he saw the exact same dog just going through the woods like it was hunting with somebody.
So the hole then brought the dog back to life.
Well,
is the idea.
Now here's the thing here. I said, well, did you call the dog back to you?
Mm-hmm.
And did it come back to you? He said it looked like it was hunting with somebody else. That's what he said.
Well, at least it was happy.
It was there on the same places where he had gone to.
Now, you believe so strongly in the powers of this hole, I know, that as one condition... Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. The government came and took your hole. That's what it comes down to.
There was quite a period of time there where, after the program, all hell had broken loose. And I was going back to the hole. I actually wasn't living when I had talked to you originally. I was not living on the property. We had just had a really major snowstorm, like 2 feet of snow in 24 hours, and most of my trailer buildings and stuff were all caved in on the property. So it was a real mess out there. Anyway, I'd taken an apartment in town, and so it was the next day or whatever. I go back there, and I'm driving up to my property, and even before I get anywhere near the property, I'm met by basically uniformed people who were telling me that there was a plane crash on my property, that they have to investigate and clear the accident, and that I'm, not to, they will let me know when I can come back.
Now, bear in mind, everybody, this was immediately after our broadcast.
Yeah. This is almost...
Nobody knew about the hole until the broadcast. Immediately after the broadcast, next day he goes back and they're giving him this plane crash trash.
And I said, I'm no dummy. I'm looking around. I don't see any smoke. I don't smell any smoke. And I didn't see any evidence of what would be a plane crash. So I'm pretty much believing they're handing me a bill of goods.
Right.
And, I said, look, this is my property. I want to get onto it.
Mm.
And basically there were some threats made against me that... I was being told that it would be fairly easy for people to find a drug lab on my property there. I'm basically a man who deals in herbs and Native American herbal medicine.
So they're saying, like, back off, buddy, or we got
you. And what could I do?
Yeah.
What I had there, I suppose, could be construed as a drug lab. I don't know. But that's where it was.
Well, was it a real drug lab, or?
Well, I had the various plants that grow native in that area there. I had some plants that I brought up from Nevada growing over there, but none of these things are anything but plants that you would find growing in a high desert environment.
And there are a lot of psychedelic hallucinogenic plants.
I did not deal with anything like that.
Well, but that's normal. That's all over the desert. It may not be widely known, but it's the truth. There's all kinds of hallucinogens that grow naturally in the desert.
Oh, the people that know, and I've worked extensively with Native Americans, and they can walk through an area, and they can tell you everything.
Okay, so it's not like you had a meth lab up there or anything.
Yeah, that's what they were implying. It was
herbal stuff. All right. So they scare you the hell away. Then how did you come to make a deal with the government? How did that happen?
I have a hard time figuring out what led around here. But basically, I wasn't going to back off. I was talking to the press. You are the press, Art Bell. And so what they did is offer to lease my property from me in perpetuity for a very healthy sum of money. And I'm talking like $250,000 a month to have use of the property. Yeah, that's $3 million a year.
That's a lot of money.
And, I had agreed for them to let me relocate in Australia, a place that I love and actually wish I could go back to, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, you did, in fact, go to Australia because I had a couple of emails from you when you were there.
I would contact you from time to time there just to let you know I was okay.
And you were in Australia. Oh, I know that's true. So you had taken the money, and I figured you were probably sipping martinis in some nice Aussie outback location with lots of nice young
very
Australian, and just having a nice life.
Combing my beard and all that stuff.
So what the hell happened?
Well, and then I was doing well. I did a lot of good work over there. One of the things that I was allowed to do is to bring some of my plants with me.
They sent you. Did they send you the money?
Oh yeah, it appeared regularly in my account. I got the money, Johnny, on the spot. It was great. They allowed me to bring my dogs with me, which I don't know if you know about transporting dogs across the seas, but you normally can't bring dogs.
I know. Well, without quarantine for a long period of time.
They were not in quarantine. They just said, hey.
So they got you right past that.
They got me right through there. I got the red carpet treatment.
You were the king of the whole, no doubt about it.
That was it. I was living good. I was happy, and basically, doing fine, doing my work out there. Did a lot of work out there on wombat rescue and wombat restoration. There, it was great.
How many $250,000 payments did they actually come through with?
Well, I was there from. I haven't tallied it up there, but I was basically there from March of '97 until right before the millennium. I mean, the year 2000.
Okay. All right. Mel, hold on. We're at the bottom of the hour. I'm Art Bell. Mel Waters is my guest. Much more ahead. This is Mel Waters of Mel's Hole fame, and he'll be right back. Now, the keepers of the network vault of time information inform me that Mel Waters was originally on program February 21st of 1997, then again February 24th, 3 days later. Then he wasn't on until April of 2000. That would have been when he came back to the U.S. So that's the timeline we've got. That sounds about right, Mel. So, they paid you, Mel, a lot of money. I mean, there were several payments of $250,000, right?
Oh, yeah. Just nice as every month it was.
Well,
there.
what the hell happened to all the money?
Well, I'll tell you what happened, and I had come back in December.
Okay.
Of what was it? When was I was on?
Would have been 2000. You were on
right.
April of 2000. So
2001.
Well, it says 2000 here. Maybe the timekeeper.
Okay, then it was right before the millennium.
Right.
Okay, so in 1990.
No. This was the millennium. I mean, 00.
In 1999, in December, I'd come back, and I actually contacted you to appear on the air.
Uh-huh.
I was in the USA, and I thought we'd just kind of
exactly.
Actually, it would have been a boring interview. It would have just been, how life was good in Australia and how wonderful things were. And blah, blah, blah. But everybody would know, hey, Mel's alive. He's doing okay. Basically, at that point, I was helping my nephew move from Tacoma to Olympia, and I would during the day before the interview.
Right.
And we moved him down there in a U-Haul truck, and I was driving the truck back, and I was going to take the bus back to Olympia. There was some strangeness that occurred on the bus. There was an altercation. There were, from what appeared to me, there were policemen and transit people that came over there. I was asked to give my statement. I said, no, I got to get back to Olympia, blah, blah, blah. I can't miss the last bus. They said, that's okay. You can talk to us. We'll drive you back in the van. That was the last thing I remembered, because when I had woke up, it was about 12 days later, and I was in a real seedy part of San Francisco, lying in an alley. These winos were basically trying to get me to sing on the road again.
Beaten up, as I recall.
I was bad. I had no teeth in the back of my mouth, no molars. They were gone.
A dentist, by the way, has since done some exemplary work for you.
Do you like that? He gave me some state-of-the-art dentures. They are wonderful.
So, I mean, you were abducted. You were beaten up. God knows what happened to you. You found yourself in San Francisco in a disaster. You have come back from that, obviously, but I still want to know, Mel, what the hell happened to all the money?
Well, what happened was that when I had gone back and I was with my nephew, I found out that I had been served with legal papers that said that basically the terms of my divorce with my former wife were basically had been canceled. I had lost my rights because of the various modifications that were made to the property after I was no longer using the property. Basically, septic systems were put in. There was various paving that was done and modifications that basically I was not allowed to do.
Right.
And so I no longer had any claim on that property. And that's basically where I'm left. So,
well, okay. Still, though, Mel, what about all the money you did receive? I mean, did you blow it on wine, women, and song, or what?
Well, again, when you have a lot of money,
yeah.
I mean, you could only eat so much food and drink so much good scotch.
That's right.
You know, I mean,
right.
And I devoted a good deal of the money I had, one, for the research I was doing. That was my activity. And two, creating a facility for dealing with our wombat friends in Australia.
Yeah, I know you were very concerned about that. I remember you were writing about wombats.
I am so proud of them because if you go now...
So your money went to the wombats, really?
The majority of it, but right after that, then I tried to access my money. My money wasn't there. I had sent emails to my colleagues in Australia. They said my whole facility was dismantled over there.
Oh, my God.
Everyone was given a severance check because I had various students and various people working for me there because, you know, I'm not a veterinarian or anything like that. So, again, you can go through money, quite a bit of money there. And
yes.
I was glad to do it. So there I am, you know, lying in the gutter, no teeth. My, you know, I could still see the tape on my arms where they had taped down an IV or some sort of thing to it. So I was out of it for the longest time, and I contacted my nephew, and he managed to get me a bus ticket back north.
Brother, talk about going from being a whole baron to absolutely...
Yeah, I had nothing.
Nothing.
And I kind of that's kind of where I left everything when you know we last talked.
Now I know that you've had contact with the Native American community since you've been back. Is that right?
Oh yeah. In fact, that we will get into that because that leads to part two of all of this. But
yeah, I know.
Kind of wrap things up. I wanted to bring up some things because you probably noticed I was pretty ticked off that they'd stole my belt buckle.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I mean, and you know, amongst working with herbs and stuff, I'm kind of an itinerant jeweler as well, and I make things. And I went back to Ellensburg, and because I'd sold a number of these similar belt buckles at the farmers market and through little consignment jewelry stores in Ellensburg.
Right.
And so, sure enough, when I'm there, I run into a guy who's wearing one of my belt buckles. Now, and they were made with a silver fork, and yeah,
you'd know your own work, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they were very unique, and this was kind of a little folk art thing, and I had.
What is the point, though?
Well, the point is that I kept on thinking, why would they take my belt buckle?
Yeah.
That was the thing. I mean, this was very personal item there that would, you know, I had another belt buckle on my belt. See what I'm saying? Why take a man's belt buckle?
Makes no sense.
Yeah. So anyway, I run into this guy and I said, "Hey, you bought one of my belt buckles?" He said, "Oh yeah, I love this thing." Anyway, so we take a look at it, and we're looking at it, and basically the motif on there is I had 3 coins, you know, that I had affixed to it in bezels.
Right.
There was a coin with Winston Churchill on it. There was a coin with Joseph Stalin. And there was a coin dime with Franklin Roosevelt.
Rather distinctive, yes.
Well, this was folk art representing the great conference that they had.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we're looking at the coins there, and we're noticing there it is a 1943 Roosevelt dime.
Yeah.
Franklin Roosevelt was still alive in 1943.
That's a good point.
In
you're sure?
Yeah, absolutely sure. Absolutely sure. It was a 1943 dime.
Well, that just makes no sense whatsoever.
I found on my property, I'd cleared a land, I found that Nazi sort of gun there. It was a P-38 that I gave to the landlord as a deposit.
I recall, yes.
And we dig up all kinds of things, bits of metal and stuff like that. Well, I found one time I was digging around there and just rooting around, I found one of these red Chinese Lucky Money envelopes. The kind of Chinese give it to each other on New Year's?
Yes.
And it had 10 of these dimes in it. So I got 10 dimes. I'm making, these belt buckles. I put one in each one there. So we're examining this dime here with this fellow in Ellensburg, and it struck us at the same time. I mean, when I told you 1943 Roosevelt dime, you thought, okay, well, it couldn't exist. We had a dime that there's no way it could exist.
Right.
But it looked just like your normal dime, but from 1943. And the only other thing that was kind of peculiar about it was that it had a B as in baby, mint mark on it. Now, we have S for San Francisco, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver.
Correct.
But I have no record anywhere of a B as in baby.
Or Boston.
Boston. Could be Boston. I don't know what it was, but I know of no B mint mark on a dime. So anyway, this guy is really curious. He decides to go see a big-time coin dealer about this coin. And he goes in there, and the coin dealer takes a look at it. He just is like, mouth is hanging open. I'm telling you, I'm relating the story from my buddy.
Okay.
He looks at this thing, and he's just flabbergasted.
But what I don't understand is how all this relates.
Well, it ties into why my belt buckle was taken.
Oh.
Because it had the same coin on there.
Oh. Now, are you fairly sure it was not the same belt buckle?
I had made a series of 10 of them. I made 10 a coin. I had 10 of those same coins.
I understand. So now, was this the same belt buckle?
No, it was one that he must have bought.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Would you have any way of knowing if it was the same one?
No. They were very. They were all custom made, so each one was a little bit different.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I would know for a fact it was not the one I wore every day of my life.
All right.
But he took it to a coin dealer, and the coin dealer was just amazed. He had he couldn't even begin to grasp what he was holding in front of him. He started telling him, I don't know. This could be a prototype.
Well, nothing explains it. I mean, time travel. What would explain?
But something created before Roosevelt would have even died. When they created that dime, they went to, they sped up the process to get a Roosevelt dime after he died. But there's nothing that explains it. The guy offered him a huge amount of money, the coin dealer. Here, I'm going to write you a very substantial check. You give me the dime. The guy says, let me think about it, okay? I'll give you my number. You give me a call, and I'll let you know what I think. Make a long story short, a day or two later, this guy is visited by Treasury officials there who said they have to confiscate this coin from him for some legal reason or another, so they took the coin away from this guy.
Should have made the deal the day before.
He should have made the deal.
So somehow, do you remember where you got these coins?
Yeah, they were on my property.
They were on the property. Showed up laying on the property?
No, I was actually digging around there, because I turned a lot of dirt over there to plant stuff and grow things there. And
You know, I think about this, and nothing explains it. I mean, time travel would not explain it.
The only thing that I even began to think about, it's like over the years I didn't pay attention to it, but it was like, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but in the middle of every intersection, on the road,
yes,
there's always a little pile of nuts and bolts. If you drive by, you'll notice them.
Yeah.
Little springs right in the middle of the intersection.
Yeah.
Stuff that falls off of cars.
Right.
And it seemed to me like that property was like that. All kinds of odds and ends were over there. I mean, why would I find an old...
Well, it's strange that you would mention all of this now. I remember you're telling the story of your belt buckle being gone, but you didn't go into the detail about your belt buckle before.
No, because I didn't know the significance of it. I just looked at it as a couple of old silver dimes.
So now suddenly you relate it back to the hole and the property.
Exactly.
I see.
Exactly. So I got this, so that kind of explains why the buckle would be taken from me.
I suppose so. It might be proof of
something other than
who
it
knows
should be.
what. Yeah.
But that happened over there. And I just wanted to bring it up today. I haven't been able to track down my former wife at all. I mean, she is just like vanished. I don't know where she is. I don't know what name she's going under. I have no idea.
All right. Here's a question for you, Mel.
Yeah.
The military obviously still is in possession of your property. Yes.
Well, we have been saying military. We have been saying government.
Whatever, whoever they are, they've got it, right?
There is someone in possession of the property, yes.
So if a person were to go to this property, they would be halted or stopped before they could go on and make any sort of investigation or whatever, right?
I'm going to assume a number of things, since I have not actually gone anywhere within 5 miles of the property since then, that there's a chain link fence around it. There's probably a sign that says, agricultural research, do not enter, or something like that. That's what I'm going to assume. Okay? I'm also going to assume that what it looked like when I owned it or had it in my possession, it doesn't look like it now. I will also clue everybody into one thing. Art, are you familiar with the Terra server?
Yes, that's
the satellite imagery?
Yes, you can get satellite imagery of almost any spot on Earth.
Okay, you go to the Terra server.
Yes.
And you go see the pictures where my property is in the Monastash.
All right, well, why don't you tell us how to do that? In other words, what specific photograph are we looking at? There should be a number or something.
Well, yeah, I don't have that handy, but if you found Ellensburg,
yes,
and you zoomed out, so the picture got smaller,
right,
you will see where my property is, and it's very easy to see where it is.
And in how would we identify it?
Because it has been expunged.
What do you mean?
Those pictures do not appear on the satellite server. The ones taken in June of 2000.
Well, instead, where your property ought to be, what do we see?
2 white squares.
Are you serious?
Absolutely. You go to Terra server. That's provided by Microsoft. I'm not going to give any URLs.
No, a lot of people know how to do it.
And look up Ellensburg.
Right.
Zoom out.
Right.
So you get and then you will see over where the Monastash Ridge is.
Yes.
My property blanked out. Actually, quite a bit. There's quite a few.
Wow.
So that is, you don't have to go by what I say.
Oh, no. Listen,
you can look at it yourself.
Trust me when I tell you, one of my listeners, within the hour, I can guarantee will find the exact photograph you're talking about, if it exists.
Yep.
Send me the URL, and or send Keith the URL, and we'll get it up and take a look. And you're claiming
it's not there.
But
it has been expunged.
Well, expunge away they might, but that still would identify the exact location.
Well, it still covers a lot of ground there. But where it is, and I assumed that because this picture was taken in 2000, I believe it was in June or something of 2000.
Right.
That there's been a lot of differences made in that area. And none of these, see, you get a really good picture on the Terra server.
Oh, well, yeah, pretty good.
You could basically see a car on the road with the Terra server.
Yeah.
That's from the satellite. So, I mean,
right.
you'd see a hole. You would see outbuildings. You would,
all right, let's direct people again. Let's say it again. So listeners who want to go to Terra Server right now and help us out, tell them where to go again.
Look up Ellensburg, Washington.
Then?
And then you just zoom out on the town until you see the black, the white squares where my property would have been.
And that would be exactly...
on the Monastash Ridge.
All right, there's a good piece of evidence we can go hunting for.
Just go there, but whoever controls the satellite and releasing it to the Terra Server people decided not to let them have these pictures.
Oh, isn't that something?
Okay.
So
I mean, every listener can do this. I mean, you know, I've had, you know, people want to go out there, and the only thing I tell them is don't go there. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen to you. I don't know what people will do to you.
Going to be nothing but grief of one sort or another.
I mean, it's these guys to go to Area 51.
You know that people have made treks to find Mel's Hole.
I right now I tell you, look, you know, it's there. Don't go there. You don't have to go there. It's there. But don't go there on my account. I don't want to be responsible for anybody. Anyway, so that was. You know, that's kind of like, bringing this into focus here, okay?
It brings us certainly up to date, yes.
And, I had a couple of other interesting things. These things are kind of loose ends, but they're not loose ends.
All right, you're going to have to hold on because we're at the top of the hour. And, folks, for a short time, it would appear as though we brought the entire Terra server down. However, enough of you went and looked, and we believe we found the frame in question. Keith has it posted right now. It covers an area, it says, 5 kilometers southwest of Ellensburg, Washington. And I'll be damned if there isn't a big white block missing from the center of this part of the Terra server in the Manatash area. I can never say that. The Manatash. Anyway, the area that he was talking about, we've got the link up there on my site right now. Go to artbell.com, go to program, tonight's guest info, and you will see related link, Terra server image of Ellensburg, Washington, and there is a big missing area. Now, whether this is it or not, I don't know. We'll ask Mel in a moment, but it's on my website right now. Thank you. Sorry about that, Terra server. All right, we've got one Terra server image, which says it's covering an area about 5 miles southwest of Ellensburg, Washington. Does that sound right?
That's about the neck of the woods we're talking about.
Well, in this neck of the woods, there's one great big white blotted out area where I presume were I to be able to see it, and it does look like a very interesting area, actually.
Oh, yeah.
There would be Mel's Hole somewhere there, huh?
Yeah, that I think that blotch over there covers like a 4 mile by 8 mile area.
My goodness.
But
what a blotch.
Isn't that something?
Yes, isn't
my nephew told me about that, and I said, well, you son of a gun.
Well, he's right. We've got it up on the website right now. People can go take a look for themselves. So now we have pinned down, better than ever before, the area where Mel's Hole actually is. Thank you, Mel. That's damn good research.
By the way, not too far from there on the highway that goes to Yakima, I think it's 84 or 85.
Yes.
There's a rest stop. And I had a lot of reports from a lot of people that if they look towards the Monastash, they will see the black beam of light. They have seen it. I have had truckers, I've had people in town say, that's where I was looking towards it, and I saw the flash of black light.
Well, now, maybe my audience is not aware, but a television crew went up to Ellensburg after we did the last program and researched this. And I'll be doggone, they didn't find the hole, but they did find near the area where you were talking about a lot of military boot prints and all kinds of information that would indicate the military, in fact, had been there or was there.
Oh, they would have probably seen a lot of yellow gear tread marks in the ground.
Yep.
You name it, it was there. But my nephew coughed that little piece of information up for me, and I thought I'd pass that along to our listeners.
Well, wait till people get a load of this.
And they can ask, why is it that pretty innocuous? I mean, from all intents and purposes, there's not a military base right there.
Well, who knows?
Well, I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Not an obvious one.
Very close to my property, there was the Yakima firing range, and I will tell you that they have expanded the area of the Yakima firing range and also expanded the fly zone over it. Correspondingly.
Isn't this also interesting?
It's all there.
Well, all right. Earlier in the program, before you got on, Mel, somebody fast blasted me, and I consider this a really good question.
Okay.
It is, what are the odds of any single one person finding two apparently bottomless or endless holes in one lifetime? The odds against that have got to be gazillions to one. But then
Oh yeah, in fact, so you can't even consider odds.
That's right. So outlandish. And by the way, one other thing before we even get to that, Richard Hoagland called at the top of the hour and said, you know what, Art, you're right. Normal time travel could not explain what he just talked about, but there is one thing that could,
and that is
a parallel universe. That is to say, a universe in which similar things occurred, but with very different outcomes. And a lot of our best scientific minds now, Mel, are saying that, indeed, that could very well be the case. There could be a universe in which the Nazis won the war. And so there could be a universe in which the dime that you came to be in possession of on that property.
So the B on it might have stood for Berlin.
There you go. Oh, my God, Berlin. B, I forgot about that. All right, listen, anyway.
So there we are, and the only thing, a few things I will add to this, just to get us current, okay?
Yes.
Is that I had reports from some of my trucker buddies. One said he delivered a huge quantity of fiber optic cable.
Really?
To a warehouse in Ellensburg. Now, okay, I don't know. We're talking a huge quantity of to a warehouse.
Now, let's see, what might they want to do with fiber optics?
Well, he told me that all the guys that were there, that were in the office there and at the warehouse where he had to unload this stuff, they were all Israelis.
What?
They were all Israelis.
Now, it's really going to tick me off if the Israelis have our hole.
Well, this is what he told me.
I mean, that is our hole. It's a U.S. hole.
It's on our land here.
That's right.
But he said that the people that took delivery of that
were Israelis.
Now, I talked with another trucker. I love the truckers. The truckers are...
I can tell.
I love them.
They're good guys, I know.
Oh, they're the best in the world.
They are. They actually are.
Delivered, apparently, to the same warehouse, a number of crated instruments, large crated instruments from Lawrence Livermore Laboratory.
Oh, gee.
California, ended up in a warehouse facility in Ellensburg. So that's pretty much where I am with Ellensburg. I told you about the coin. I told you about the deliveries.
Yes.
Pretty much up to date.
Now it suddenly brings the whole belt buckle thing down in San Fran into focus. My God, that's incredible, Mel. That's incredible.
I mean, it's funny, Art. You look at some things and you don't put two and two. You say it's a dime. I mean, I told you about it. It's a 1943 Roosevelt dime.
Yeah.
What the heck? That's a dime. What are you, going boo-hoo about your dime? Until you realize...
Well,
it
finally all drove it home to me. All right,
well,
all right.
Again, that was me too. I had these things in my hand. I did little soldering around them and stuff. I mean,
sure.
So don't feel bad.
All right, now let in view of time here.
Okay, let's move this forward.
Let's. You connected obviously because I guess of the plants that you grow, the herbs and all the rest of it, with Native Americans, right?
Yeah, and all I'm going to tell you about them, I don't want to give the name of the tribe because I don't want a bunch of people running down to me there. These are very poor people. As you know, a lot of the Indians on the reservation are very poor people.
Now, this is in Nevada, right?
In Nevada.
Okay. Here in my state.
And there are tribes up there that...
Well, because of the kind of work you did, the metallic work you did in belt buckles and the herbs you grow, I can easily understand the connection you would have with some Native Americans. So you connected with these Native Americans.
Well, they connected with me. They actually contacted me through email.
Oh.
And said, look, would you be interested in coming down and discussing with us, what you're doing, the research that you're doing, and, talk about, I have believe me, Art, I have no commercial interest in this at all, but they do.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay?
Fine.
There's not going to be a patented bottle of Mel's magic elixir here, okay?
Yeah, okay, fine.
This is their thing. But we swapped notes, we talked around a lot, and there are some specific...
they knew who you were because of my program
because
and
of the show.
Press coverage, and yeah, okay.
So I went down there, and this was in early September of last year.
Oh, okay.
So this was actually before 9/11.
Right.
Okay, but shortly before that.
Early September.
I was pretty much incommunicado basically during that whole time, and strangely enough, so a lot of this stuff is news to me.
All right.
So, we're over there, and, they had done a lot of good work. They had cataloged a lot of plants. We talked plants. I'm sure all this plant stuff is boring. And I asked them if they knew, and I told them, I said the plants that seemed to work the best were the plants that I had been growing on my property, and I described to them which ones they were. And
this was the hole near Washington, right?
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
And
so obviously you unraveled the story of the hole to them.
Well, they were aware. They were aware
all right.
of the thing too.
All right.
And so I says, can you, in your gathering and in your research and your studies, have you found this specific variety? And I said, because this was the variety that grew by the property. And that's where I ended up at the second hole, is because they took me directly to, not for the hole in particular.
Well, then it's obvious to me that they knew your reputation.
Right.
They knew the whole story of the hole, and the real motivation for inviting you down there, aside from the herbs and the rest of it, was that they had a hole of their own.
Well, the hole itself, and we're going to get into the hole, I guess, deeply, for lack of a better term, but...
now you're guilty.
I'm sorry, Art. But basically, the hole is not on their property.
Okay.
I mean, basically, their connection, to get from the reservation or where the Indians are to the hole is they know where it is. But
you're telling me this hole is in my state?
In the state of Nevada.
In the state of, oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And if you looked at the picture of where the Monastash is in Washington, and
right.
try to find similar pictures in Nevada, you probably find it there too.
We have very similar looking terrain. To
it really is. That's why I love the high desert. That's my kind of land. So I'm up there, and this land is used by members of the Basque, BASQUE community.
All right.
The Basque are interesting people, and they basically came out to your state and a couple of other states, basically for raising sheep, of all things.
Okay.
And so they are shepherds, and so I am introduced to what is now the second hole.
All right. Tell me about this. I mean, they took you to it.
They took me there. I did not go all the way up to the hole, but there was conversations between the Native Americans and the Basque and blah blah blah, and they basically agreed that everything was as it should be. That I wasn't from CNN or the FBI or the CIA or whatever.
Right.
And so I went there and I got to see the hole. Now,
all right. What's there?
What it is that if you walking up to it, and first of all, this is in a fairly pristine area, okay? So there's no real signs of civilization around there. There's no roads leading into it. There's no telephone wires, nothing like that. I mean, we're talking pristine area.
Right.
No signs of, except for their habitation, no signs of habitation.
Gotcha.
Okay, you're walking up to it, and what you see sticking out of the ground is 5 the hole itself is the same dimension as the one in Ellensburg. It's
wow.
wide.
9 feet in diameter?
9 feet in diameter. This one had a metal collar around it.
A metal collar?
Solid metal collar.
That rose from
about 2 feet high and about 2 feet deep. Metal collar, and it had some notches in it that you could look like, in my estimation, you could mate something with it, to lock it in place. And it could possibly have been like a locking collar.
You mean something was, in other words, it looked like something intended to lock to it from above?
Exactly. Something would be lowered onto it and locked into place.
Okay.
But the Basques tell me that this property, or this hole here, has been there for all of their experience, and they have been there since the 1800s. Just the way it is, but the same hole. On not their land. They don't own this land, Art. This is probably U.S. government land.
Well, the majority of land here in Nevada is BLM.
Well, exactly.
Bureau of Land Management.
It's not. They don't own it. They use the land. They graze sheep, blah, 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 that sort of thing.
And how long have they known of this hole? Do you know?
Well, again, the one fellow I know says he knew this from when he was a young man, and he was well into his late 80s. And so he knew it from probably for the last 70 years.
All right, because of what you did, we know a lot, at least quite a bit about your hole up in near Ellensburg. But
yes.
This hole, what do we know about this hole other than its diameter?
It's the diameter, and apparently it is lined with that same metal as far as you can see.
You're kidding.
It is solidly lined as far as you can see.
So this is not a natural hole by any stretch.
There's nothing natural about this hole at all. Nothing.
Can you tell what kind of metal it is?
No, but I'll tell you one thing, and it was kind of an accident. But I dropped the box wrench on it.
Right.
On the ledge.
Yes.
Made no noise.
No noise
whatsoever. You drop a box wrench on a metal floor.
Clank.
Clank. Nothing. We repeat the experiment. Clank. Nothing. It makes no... You could pound on that thing with a sledgehammer, and it won't make noise. Okay?
Oh, Mel.
This is what I'm telling you about right now, is that this one here is so different from the one that I had in Ellensburg. Like, totally different. Mostly because of this metal around it. But
when you touch the metal, does it feel metallic? Is it cold as metal would?
This wow. This is interesting because a lot of the fellows that are there, and there was 5 of us at towards the end of it, and it started with 2 and we ended up with 5. But what they say when they're up there, even in the wintertime, they can put their tent and sleeping bag right up against it, keep them nice and warm.
Warm?
Yes. It keeps them nice and warm, but it is not hot. It's not like a fire hot. But the metal itself over there
radiates.
I don't even know how to describe it there.
In other words, if you touch it with your hand, is it hot, or does it just produce radiant heat that?
There is heat around it, but it itself is not hot. How does that sound?
This is really weird, Mel.
So they are, that's what, that's the thing there, and so we have this, hole in there, and again, from my understanding, they have known about that hole up there. It's it has been known since the 1800s. It has been known exactly the way it is. I can tell you that some of the people that I talked with towards the end of everything on my way back said it was a spiritual site for them up there. I asked the native...
Spiritual site. All right, hold it right there, Mel. Good cliffhanger point. All right, Mel has confirmed one thing for us. We found the image on the Terra server that Mel refers to that has a big white square exactly where Mel's hole would be in Washington. Now, Mel is connected with Native Americans here in my state, in Nevada, and the Basques, and they've led him to this second well, covered with metal. It's got a metal collar all the way around it, and get this, folks, going all the way down inside the well, the metal continues as far as the eye can see, or as they have been able to thus far detect. More in a moment. Coming up on Thursday, by the way, I've got Jan Lambert here, who's an advocate of the hollow earth theory. And that may in some way relate to what we're talking about tonight. I have no idea. We'll find out. In the meantime, Mel, so you've got this metal around the hole, about, you said, a foot or two high.
2 feet high, 2 feet wide.
High, and 2 feet wide. And the hole is 9 feet in diameter. And as far as you can see, the metal continues down. This is no geographic hole. This is no volcano vent. Or if it is, it's been modified by somebody.
Well, if it's been modified, I'm going to say long before the technology that we know of today.
To do it. Mm-hmm. And it looks like there was something that should be latching to this hole from above. I'm going to call the thing on top of collar, okay? And that's we'll call it the collar, all right.
And it looked like there's notches in it, and it looked like you could lock something into place or line something up in it.
Gotcha.
It didn't move. I mean, the whole thing was solid. It's solid metal. But there are places where there are notches in it, and something is meant to orient, my opinion.
All right. What did the Basques or the Native Americans tell you about what they knew of the depth of this hole? In other words, I'm sure they've thrown things into it or have experimented with trying to find out how deep it is or something, right?
Well, actually, they didn't do anything with lowering line it or anything to it, but they did relate to me the same phenomenons as that I had described. One, the fear of animals going by it. Their dogs won't do it. Nothing. They have nothing to do with it there. They, too, have spoken of the black beam. They've spoken of that.
What do you mean black beam?
From time to time, black beam, this is a contradiction, but a black beam of light, okay, comes from the hole. It lasts for a very short time, but it just goes directly up into the sky.
And when you look at it, it looks like a black beam. In other words, as opposed to a lighted sky. If
you had a flashlight and it was capable of throwing off a black, not a black light like we used to have back in the 60s, with all that stuff, but black, solid black.
Yeah, gotcha.
That's what. There's no way to describe it. There's no. I am one of the few people that I've had other people tell me about it. I have never personally witnessed the black beam.
You did perform some experiments on this hole, didn't you?
Okay, let me talk about the first one. And I'm not a scientist. I'm kind of a researcher. But the first thing that we did is we had a whole bunch of Safeway or 7-Eleven bags of ice. The kind that you buy, and we had a couple bags of that. So we had put one in a bucket on the surface, and we lowered another bucket of ice into the hole, 1,500 feet.
1,500 feet?
Yeah, we had access to a nice winch and about that much. We only had 1,500 feet of line, and that's what we...
What was the idea of lowering ice into it?
Well, first of all, my curiosity is that I wanted to know, was it hot or cold down there?
Okay.
So we basically waited for the ice to melt about halfway on the surface, and then we would hoist up the...
I see. So your ice, you had test ice on the surface.
Yeah.
To see how that was melting. I got you.
Of your garden variety convenience store ice,
right.
That you buy anywhere, and nothing magic about it or anything like that.
Right.
And so we lowered it down there. We waited for the ice to melt on the surface there, and it got about half melty, So it was sitting in a bowl of in a bucket of water with a few bits of ice floating around. We brought it up. And the ice in the bucket did not melt.
It didn't melt?
It was not melted. So we said, this was on
Now, wait a minute. Now, the hole had been radiating, in some strange way, heat enough that people would camp by it.
Yeah, they did that in the wintertime.
But it doesn't melt ice?
Didn't melt the ice. It came up there. We looked in the bucket. We had ice cubes in there.
Did anything come back up with the ice cubes?
We had ice cubes. I reached in the bucket at ice cube. I picked one up there.
So in other words, nothing else, dirt, water, anything else?
No,
nothing else
the stuff appeared pretty much the way we had sent it down, with the exception of when I put my hand in the ice wasn't cold. Felt like ice.
What?
Wasn't cold. This is what I'm saying. It wasn't cold. You know, you pick up a piece of ice, you put it in your hand.
It's cold.
It melts, and it's cold. In fact, it makes you cold by melting. That's how cold works.
Right.
Well, it didn't. It wasn't cold, and in the hand, it didn't melt.
So then, now they're more like blocks of glass.
Yeah, I would say so. But we said, oh, okay, what we'll do here is we take this bucket and we'll stick it on the fire. And we had a little place to cook there. Stick
the bucket with the unmelted ice.
Unmelted ice.
You put on a fire.
We put it on like our cooking fire there.
Okay.
We had a little table and cooking area and stuff over there, and so we put it on there, and the ice catches fire.
What?
The cubes catch fire, and I guess maybe catching fire might be the wrong word. That the ice, we took it off the fire right away, so we set it on the dirt, and the stuff in the bucket was still burning. And again, burning might not be the right thing. It was giving off heat.
Was there a flame?
It was not so much a flame as a kind of have you ever used a gas stove?
Sure.
Okay. It was like the barest turning a gas stove on. It was glowing like that last flicker before you turn it off completely. That's what it was like around all the cubes. And you could knock the cubes around and separate them, and each one of them, would exhibit the same properties.
Holy smokes!
I will tell you that this bucket, well, some of the bucket there is still sitting there, as far as I know today, still doing what it was doing the day we put it into the ground and brought it up.
So
this was September, and this is January now. That's how long it's been doing what I call burning. One guy took some of the stuff home. He put it in his wood stove, and he's got a cabin out there, and it gets damn cold where he is, and the thing has been keeping his place warm.
Yeah, northern Nevada is very cold.
Oh,
so this is like giving off eternal heat. I'm not sure I've got this right.
It makes it look.
It was neutral when it came out of the well. It was neutral. In other words,
we put it on the fire, and it appeared. Again, my terminology. This is very bad because
it acted like a fuel.
It will look like if I understand combustion. It was like it was doing combustion in a different way than we would attribute combustion to, mixing air with fuel and creating heat and flame. It was doing kind of the same thing, is what I'd like to say. And it's been burning like that since, again, burning is the wrong word, but that's all I got for it. I don't know how to describe this process since early September. And again, a guy he took about a coffee can's worth of this stuff and took it home and put it in his wood stove in his cabin. No wood in there.
Yes.
And the thing has been going since then. Now, we have tried this experiment of just the lowering of the bucket because we figure we'd like to have a lot of this stuff here.
Oh, of course.
And sometimes we would go down there and we would get nothing. Sometimes we would get melted. Sometimes, not melted, but real ice. But every so often, this process duplicates itself. So we come up with the same thing. But it isn't like, every time you throw, you lower a bucket full of stuff there that
it's going to happen every time.
It doesn't happen every single time.
A quarter of the time? An eighth of the time?
I'd say 1 out of 3 times.
1 out of 3.
One out of 3, and I don't know if it was the amount of time down there.
Do you possess any of this yourself?
I took nothing with me, Art. I would not. What is the word? This is theirs for now. Let's say for now, okay?
What about noise? At any point did it make any noise?
No, we never during this process that we went through. it made no noise at all. It made no noise, and we did not notice anything from the surface, anything particularly unusual, okay, at all. I mean, there was, it was just, but...
Were there any markings on this metal that were discernible? In other words, anything marked or scratched in English or any other language?
Well, we went at it with a hacksaw blade. You couldn't hacksaw it.
You couldn't even dent it?
No. The metal itself, from what I can determine, and I mean, normally if you have a metal thing that's hollow, you could tap on it, and you would hear that it's hollow.
Right.
But with this thing here, if you're beating on it with like a tire iron,
no
it doesn't
noise.
make any noise. That doesn't give you a gauge as to whether it's hollow or not.
So it was absorbing probably all noise. I mean, there would have
maybe just sucking it up. Maybe it radiated into the ground. I have no idea. That's not my area of expertise. All I know is what I could see with my own eyes, and hopefully. By the end of tonight, maybe somebody will have some
answer.
Yes.
What did the locals believe about this hole?
Well.
I mean, you literally just got back from Nevada, tonight or yesterday?
Oh, no, this last week. I got home the night that you did the show as the repeat.
That's right. You told me. Okay.
And so it was one of those, it was probably Richard Hoagland say, one of those synchronous moments there where, I'm talking to this guy, and he's talking to Mel Waters, and the truck, and then I hear myself, and it's like, hey, so it was just too much, and so I had to get in touch with you.
Okay, well, again, what did these locals? What was the lore that they told you about the hole? What did
one of the older Basque men that I talked to, and this was practically as I was heading out of town, told me there was a very to him, he felt it was a very spiritual place, but he knew the thing from his youth, that it was there exactly the way it is, and he was in his late 80s, so I'm assuming he's known it for 70 years. So he's known it at least from the 30s, and from what he tells me, it's been there as long as the Basque had been in that part of the country, and that goes well into the 1800s. It has existed like that. To be honest, the Native Americans that I talked to were aware of it, but they did not want to deal with it. They did not want to interact with it. Is that a good word?
That's a word.
All they would do is pick some of the various plants that I needed that were in the general vicinity of it, because I wanted very specific ones that I had recommended, and they knew of them.
All right. Are they now growing some of these plants in the vicinity of this hole?
Well, some of those plants are there. They appear to be indigenous to the area, so they did harvest some, early on in the season there.
So then again, you saw similar vegetation around this hole to the one in Washington.
Well, that's why I asked them for, if they knew, I described to them what it was, and the shape of the things and, the size of the various, and they said, oh yeah, we know of that there, but in terms of why the entree, I assume that the Native Americans knew about this all along there. And I assume that they must have had some conversation with the Basque there that, would this be okay? Are you interested in this guy? Blah, whatever. And apparently there was no objection, so I have access to this property.
Well,
but I want to respect my access, okay?
What about an experiment, Mel, similar to the one you did in Washington, lowering some sort of line, or better yet, some sort of camera on the end of a line, or...
We didn't do that between the Basque and the Native Americans and me. We don't have too many nickels to rub together. But I will tell you what we did do. One of the Basque, kind of a wise acres, he wanted to lower some marijuana into the hole and see if it would improve its smokability. And you know,
then it would be a pothole, right?
Well, I guess it could be that I hadn't thought of it that way, but he wanted to do that, and one guy wanted to be lowered into the hole himself.
Well, now you see, in the hour preceding your
I heard that.
Oh, did you? Two people who would actually like to be lowered into such a hole. Now I know that you believed in the powers of the hole in Washington to the degree that in the original agreement, now voided, I suppose, you were to be, upon your death, buried by being dropped into the hole, right?
How I wanted my remains to be dealt with, yes.
Now, that apparently is not going to happen because of subsequent events.
Oh, I've got another place to go now.
Would you really want...
Nevada.
Yes, would you really want to be... I suppose,
when I'm gone,
with some ceremony, dropped into the hole.
Hey, you know, just give me a decent... I don't know what it is when you put someone in a hole. Is that interned or...
I don't know what you'd call that.
I don't know either. But one of these guys wanted to go into... You know, literally, he wanted to be lowered into the hole. He wanted to, you know, be put in a gondola or something and lowered, you know, from the winch into the hole and go down as far as we had line, which again was 1,500 feet.
I can assure you, Mel, we could get sponsors for you who would get you all the line you need.
Hey, look, we talked them out of going into the hole because we said, look, see what it did to the ice?
That's a good point.
It says, we sent a bucket of ice down into this hole, and it's sitting up there on the surface burning. I mean, what are you made out of mostly?
Water.
Water. What's going to happen to a human being down there? What properties are going on over there? Yeah, they had, you know, but I mean, the Basques are, as a race, are fearless. When the Moors invaded Spain, they refused to go into Basque country.
Okay, what did this man say his motivation was for wanting to go into the hole? I mean, obviously...
He was just a young, headstrong, you know, in his probably late 20s, early 30s fellow that wanted to go into it. He said, this is going to be a great adventure. I want to go in here. I want to see what's going on. But he wasn't thinking with his brain.
Well, there are obviously a lot of people like that, Mel, because I had two of them in the first hour of the program, and they said they would love to be lowered into such a hole. This one, if anything, this one sounds more attractive.
Well, we determined to do, and I'm ashamed to admit it, is that we decided to lower a sheep.
Really?
To the hole.
Really?
A living sheep.
You did?
Into the hole. We had a crate, you know, the sheep could fit into that we could attach the cables to, and we're going to take the sheep, stick them in the crate, and then lower them down, you know, to the 1,500-foot level, because that's all we had.
Like the ice.
Yeah, that's all we had. You know, I mean, you know, we had enough line basically to go that far, and it was stout enough to handle, you know, I'm not no sheep guy, but I could pick up a sheep, so it must weigh about 120, 150 pounds. Yeah. Well, so I guess about the size of a small human, wouldn't you say?
I would, 150 pounds? You said?
For sheep.
Yeah, I would say that's about the size.
I'm no sheep expert, but, you know, if I had to say how much does that sheep look like away, about 150, 125 pounds. Anyway,
are you telling me you did this?
I'm telling you that we, first...
All right, I'll tell you what. Don't say a word. Good place to hang everybody up. Be sure they're here next hour. Did he really lower a sheep 1,500 feet into the endless hole?